VCU is welcoming its new men's head basketball coach, Phil Martelli Jr., after Ryan Odom announced his departure for another school.
For the seventh year in a row, activists gathered at the Virginia State Capitol for the annual Virginia March for Life here in Richmond.
In Richmond, protesters gathered for a national day of action, displaying public resistance against President Donald Trump's second administration by saying, "Hands off." Hello and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Madison Cox.
And I'm Phoenix Kyle. Thank you for tuning in to our final newscast of the 2025 spring semester.
Fans are reacting to changes with the VCU men's basketball team. There's a new coach, new players, and overall uncertainty about the program next year.
Just last night, former UConn guard Ahmed Noel committed to the Rams. VCU InSight reporter Kyler Gilliam has the latest on fans' reactions.
Changing of the guard is happening once again for the VCU men's basketball program, and VCU students are feeling the heartbreak.
It seems like a bit of a betrayal.
VCU hired former Bryant head coach Phil Martelli Jr. to replace Ryan Odom, who bolted to UVA after the first-round exit for the Rams during March Madness.
Change has been a constant for the VCU men's basketball program, with Phil Martelli Jr. becoming the third coach in the last 5 years for the Rams.
VCU sophomore Peter Rainey believes that the VCU fan base has gotten used to the constant changes, but he is still optimistic about the Rams.
The fan base has grown used to the whole, coaching turnover that VCU has experienced, but, you reload.
With the departure of Odom, many players entered the transfer portal. VCU fans have grown to care about these players in the last year, and now they're on their way out, reflecting the new age of college athletics.
One of my favorite things was going to camp over the summers and meeting the players and building relationships with them and then watching them throughout the year, and not just throughout the year, but watching them develop from freshman to senior year and then staying in the one place and building a legacy here. It does seem like that is becoming more and more of a rarity.
During Martelli Jr.'s first press conference, he discussed obtaining talent through the portal to help VCU's roster.
We plan to make you proud by bringing in highly talented individuals, but those highly talented individuals have to have high character. That is a non-negotiable for me.
Martelli Jr. is already engaging with the VCU community with a meet and greet last week. Reporting from VCU for VCU InSight and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Kyler Gilliam.
Protesters in Richmond are joining millions of people across the world in a national day of action. Their message to President Donald Trump and Elon Musk: hands off. Some of the causes protesters say they are fighting for include workers' rights, healthcare like Medicare and Medicaid, immigrant and LGBTQ rights, DEI, and Social Security. In Richmond, protesters gathered at the Capitol Square bell tower and marched a little over a mile to Monroe Park. At the park, Richmond-based singer-songwriter Susan Greenbaum performed a protest song called Hold On.
We are strong, stronger than we appear, and no matter what this cancer tries, we'll be stronger still, voices loud and shrill, we will fight back with all of our might.
The official Hands Off website says there were over 1,300 peaceful protests across the world, totaling millions of people. They say this is the biggest day of collective action since the president's inauguration.
President Trump is targeting certain protests held on college campuses. VCU InSight reporter Cruz Walden has information on what the future of campus protesting could look like.
At a press conference run by Students for Justice in Palestine at VCU, students share their 5 demands of the university. Among their concerns, organizers are worried about President Trump's recent post on Truth Social. It said he would cut federal funding for all colleges engaged in, quote, illegal protests. SJP VCU organizer Serene Haddad had this to say about the post.
I think that they have this idea that if they do continue to arrest people, if they do continue to crack down, then eventually we will be silent out of fear.
The question being asked, is this even constitutional? VCU Associate Professor Dr. John Augenbaugh says technically it is.
The argument of the Trump administration is that these colleges and universities were allowing the protests and speech that targeted Jewish students. and this would be in violation of federal civil rights laws.
One of the most high-profile cases following the president's post is the arrest of Columbia graduate Mahmoud Khalil. Khalil is a prominent pro-Palestinian protester. Currently, Khalil is in detention and has been told his green card will be revoked. VCU has also seen its share of protests, including this one that turned violent last year. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian activists set up an encampment in front of Cabell Library on the VCU campus. VCU has since updated their policies on what types of protests are allowed, prohibiting encampments like the one last April. Additionally, protests are no longer allowed here on the campus, but groups like this one right behind me are able to reserve the outer edges of the space with prior approval required. Both Haddad and Augenbaugh shared the same sentiment, that the deportations of Mahmoud Khalil and the statement against illegal protests could have a chilling effect on free speech.
We will continue to stand strong because we understand that we are on the right side of history, and no amount of repression, no amount of arrest is going to change that.
Reporting for VCU InSight and the newsroom at VCU from Richmond, I'm Cruz Walden.
Hundreds of people are making their voices heard in the annual Virginia March for Life rally at the state capitol.
I talked to some of the people marching to find out what they were calling on lawmakers to do. At the Virginia March for Life rally, speakers are protesting a proposed amendment to the Virginia state constitution that would ensure reproductive freedom. The amendment describes reproductive freedom as the ability to make decisions relating to personal prenatal and postpartum care, childbirth, contraception, and abortion care. This measure may appear on the 2026 ballot.
Now, do you want a right to abortion enshrined in our state's constitution?
Martha Cassell and a friend drove from Charlottesville to attend the march.
45 years ago, I had an abortion. I still regret it.
Cassell says she became pregnant while living with her boyfriend and was worried he would leave her if she had the baby. She now advocates for adoption.
It is our privilege to receive every life and to allow God to have his way with every life.
The march is just getting started. You can probably hear how many people are behind me. And in fact, I'm going to step away from the camera for a moment so you can see just how many people have lined up to participate in this March for Life. Marchers plan to walk along Broad Street, 14th Street, Main Street, and then back up 9th Street to form a circle around the Virginia State Capitol. Many of the marchers came on buses from all across Virginia. Catherine Patterson organized a group of about 100 people to drive together from Chesterfield.
We all are here because we love our unborn babies from conception.
Some notable guests at the march included Governor Glenn Youngkin and Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. In a statement from January discussing the proposed amendment for reproductive freedom, Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia addressed various pregnancy medical issues, including miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies, and says this, quote, "At no point in pregnancy is a politician more qualified than you and your medical provider to make your healthcare decisions. Healthcare decisions, including abortion, should be guided by medicine and science. Banning abortion doesn't just strip away freedom, it makes pregnancy less safe for you and your loved ones." Reporting for VCU InSight and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Phoenix Kyle. GalaxyCon attendees pack the Richmond Convention Center.
VCU InSight reporter Alex Wilson gets an inside look and is finding out more on how this impacts the local economy.
The Richmond Convention Center is overtaken by cosplayers, vendors, and even celebrities. Andrew is cosplaying his own character.
I just like coming over here and like seeing everybody else that's like cosplaying, you know, displaying what they love to do and like what they like talking to people and finding out what they like doing.
For Casey, winter is coming. He is taking on the character of Jon Snow from the Game of Thrones series. He believes cosplaying is an escape from normal life.
Like, it's definitely a form of like escapism. You get to dress as your favorite characters, and people in cosplay act crazy.
Hi, I'm here at GalaxyCon where you can find cosplayers, but you can also find droids like this.
Actor Brian O'Halloran is known for his role in the movie series Clerks.
I'm not even supposed to be here today!
And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Are you even supposed to be here today?
Don't get me started.
O'Halloran has attended GalaxyCon in Richmond for years.
And the thing that's different about Richmond is like super centrally located for people to come from the south of the state, from other states from the south, but also just from the Delmarva Peninsula and moving down. There are people that are coming in from like Philadelphia, flew in from Chicago.
O'Halloran also spoke about the fans in Richmond.
Always really great, loyal kind of fans of so many genres. GalaxyCon is one of the best in the business that does that covers the fandom base of so many fandoms that it's one of the premier conventions.
GalaxyCon organizers say there is also a positive financial impact on the local community.
We're expecting over $10 million in direct spending impact into the region.
GalaxyCon is so popular, tickets are already on sale for next year. Reporting in Richmond, I'm Alex Wilson for VCU InSight in the newsroom at VCU.
The Virginia General Assembly is wrapping up and history is being made as two women are up against one another for the governor's seat.
VCU Capitol News Service reporter Brooke Lindenberg is in the studio with what you need to know.
Governor Glenn Youngkin is making final changes to legislation after a recent reconvened session that saw the Virginia General Assembly return to Richmond. Lawmakers debated the governor's 300 proposed amendments and vetoes, including changes to the state budget. Youngkin wants to add $300 million into state reserves to offset recent federal policies, but Democrats disagree, saying it impacts their budget proposals. According to VPM, other rejected budget changes included $10 million to fund charter schools, $140 million in /school support positions, and elimination of sales tax on data centers. Approximately 700 bills will soon become law. Youngkin has 30 days to accept or reject the General Assembly's changes. According to a Capitol News Service analysis, in his 4 years, Youngkin vetoed 399 bills. Gun control, minimum wage, and reproductive health were some of the bills Youngkin vetoed this year. Also, a bill to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2027. University of Mary Washington political science professor Stephen Farnsworth says both parties have changed over the years, causing this tension.
A generation ago, Democrat and Republican centrists would get together and work out a deal that the extremes of both parties had to live with. What you're seeing now is much more like the trench warfare of Washington.
The House failed to override 13 of Youngkin's vetoes this year, while the Senate didn't change any decisions. Farnsworth says the upcoming November election led to Democrats to blame the governor for not passing important party issues, and it allowed Republicans to send a clear message on its own party identity. Youngkin's time as governor is ending, opening up the floor in November for Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears to battle it out with Democrat and former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. Both parties hope to secure the governor's mansion and the 100 open house seats. Democrats hope for a trifecta, which they haven't had since 2022. Regardless of who wins, the next holder of Virginia's top job will be the first woman in over 400 years. Early voting opens May 2nd for Democratic and Republican primaries for Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and House of Delegates seats. Election Day is November 4th. Visit election.virginia.gov for more information. Reporting for CNS and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Brooke Lindberg.
Love it or hate it, professionals say AI is here to stay. VCU InSight reporter Elena Gutowski shows us how VCU is embracing artificial intelligence by introducing an option for students to minor in AI.
Artificial intelligence is in the headlines every day. Now VCU is embracing this growing field by launching new AI minors. VCU student Cody Wilkins recently declared an AI minor and plans to use it alongside her fashion merchandising degree to understand and predict trend cycles. She highlighted the importance of students understanding a growing field.
It's good to know something even relatively well. You don't have to be an expert. You can just know the basics, because at this rate, there are going to be so many careers, even within the next 5 years, that have something to do with AI in their system, you know what I mean?
Statista Market Insights predict the AI market is expected to show an annual growth rate of 27%, showing that the growth of AI is not slowing down anytime soon. Director of Interdisciplinary Studies at VCU, Mariah Crilly, has helped develop this minor.
And we know that AI, artificial intelligence, is changing our world. And VCU wants to make sure that our students are prepared for that future.
Crilly also shared the concept behind VCU's tagline for the program, AI for the public good.
And so AI for the public good is meant to say not just how do we cash in on AI or how do we make the most profit off of it or how do we cut jobs, for example, with AI, but how do we do actual good with AI? How do we be more ethical when it comes to AI?
One of the many things that AI minors are taught is to understand large language models like ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. They're taught how to use these tools ethically and practically while understanding what makes them work.
Assistant Professor Judy Crenshaw says that the university sees potential for students studying AI to be ahead of the game in the professional world.
They will be one step ahead of many other college graduates in having formal expertise in how to have these skills and deliver them for a potential employer.
Reporting in Richmond for VCU InSight and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Elena Gutowski.
A new study shows younger people are not identifying as Christian or with any religion, but as a whole, Christianity is no longer on the decline. VCU InSight reporter Kendall Taylor takes a look at the Pew Research study.
Christianity is the religion most Americans identify with, but there have been changes.
And over the past 10 years, the most popular religion in the U.S. has seen a dramatic decline.
And for Deacon Doris James at Memorial Missionary Baptist Church in North Carolina, this isn't surprising.
Of change in society, and sometimes people change with the flow. Those that are really not dedicated to Christ, those that just Christians by default, or Christians just by name, but not Christians in their heart.
A Pew Research Center study shows since 2014 there has been a 9% decline in the number of Americans who identify as Christian. However, it notes that for the past several years, that number has remained steady.
The scripture talks about this reality happening and occurring, and so it's not surprising.
Pastor Turner has a few ideas as to why this is happening.
Racism, sexism, class distinction that is promoted, again, like I say, in a whole lot of mainstream Christian denominations. Christianity in its form existing in the world has utilized Christianity and the Bible to marginalize, oppress people for decades.
The study does say Americans who identify as other religions, such as Islam and Buddhism, is trending upwards, but remains in the single digits. The Pew study says there may be more of a decline because young adults are far less religious than older adults, and religion is not sticking as younger people go into adulthood. So how does the church maintain their place? VCU religion professor emeritus Clifford Edwards believes the Christian church needs to confront this.
Some people certainly hold to the old ways. Ministers of churches or priests of churches are worried about, are we losing what we were trying to do to help folks out? Do they no longer want our help? Or had we better make some real critical changes if we're going to continue to have a place in people's lives?
Despite this, Pastor Turner believes the core message of Christianity should be at the forefront.
If more people follow the person of Christ, it would make America better.
Reporting for VCU InSight in the newsroom at VCU, I'm Kendall Taylor.
Pro wrestling is picking up in popularity in the River City.
VCU InSight reporter Sanaya Gary is at the Commonwealth Championship Wrestling Show to find out more about this growing sport.
Wrestling with ideas for how to spend your Friday night? It could be hard to find the right match, But for pro wrestling fans, the right match to watch is the brawl before last call at Parlay Social on Friday night.
The crowd is very into it and hyped up, and it's kind of fun.
Hosted by the Commonwealth Championship Wrestling, the CCW is just one of 2 pro wrestling organizations in the city that are popularizing live wrestling shows. There were more than 13 wrestlers, both men and women, competing in their weight class with CCW household names such as Ace Montana and John Washington.
These right here in my hands are the championship belts that all these wrestlers are competing for. But the main event that this audience is anticipating is against the #1 contender, Lucius Suede, and the reigning champion, Mr. Steel Hammer.
Wrestlers like Elijah Thomas III traveled from Alaska just to live out his wrestling passion.
So just to have it come full circle and be able to give back to the community, give them memories.
And for Rob's trainer, Jason Ferrier, that's 23 years of experiencing memories like that, with crowds that understand, appreciate that what they do isn't an entertaining sport, but performance art.
So the match tonight, he was magic, because the crowd felt something with energy, vibe, then art to try to put out there, because we're artists. We're artists.
CCW will continue to host live wrestling shows every few months at Parlay Social throughout the year. And while most art forms need a delicate hand, this art form packs a mean punch. Reporting in Richmond for VCU InSight and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Sanaya Gear.
March is Women History Month, and we are recognizing a local woman-owned business that sits on the corner of Main Street.
VCU InSight reporter Alexis Washington takes us inside 5th and Main, a hodgepodge that traces back to the 1800s.
Shopping for antiques, clothes, and souvenirs just got cooler. I'm in the kitchen, but this is also an antique shop.
Catherine Bowles, owner of 5th and Main, a hodgepodge, is following her family's footsteps.
I've always wanted to have a store. My mom had a store, her father had a store, and I've always worked in retail.
Bowles sells everything from lampshades, greeting cards, dish sets, furniture, and fabrics from India and Portugal.
And I wanted things affordable that people could pack in their suitcase and take home.
But the house has been in the family for decades. Customers find that part of the story unique.
Do you actually live here? We do.
Built in 1808, Bowles' father-in-law restored the home and used it as his law practice. According to an Axios report, last year, the number of Richmond-owned businesses increased by 59%. Customer Kathleen Broadwater is visiting from Maryland and loves supporting antique shops.
So we actually looked it up since we love antiques, and we were walking around and we're like, well, Richmond's an old town, so they have to have antique shops.
Broadwater says the layout of the store is welcoming.
Just super cute, very just artsy and free. Loving kind of that cute aesthetic of, the consignment meets the antique, which is just always beautiful. It's art, and I love that.
Bowles also takes pride in using her shop to serve the community. She offers mindful meditation classes and book studies throughout the week in her store. Reporting in Richmond for VCU InSight in the newsroom at VCU, I'm Alexis Washington.
Spring is in full bloom, which means Washington, D.C.'s Cherry Blossom Festival is back.
I got to experience the festival and talk to the people who gathered to enjoy the tradition. Every spring, thousands of visitors from around the world make their way to Washington, D.C. to experience the beauty of the cherry blossoms. The National Cherry Blossom Festival brings the city to life with cultural performances, parades, and daily events celebrating the season. These trees are more than just a seasonal attraction. In 1912, Japan gifted the United States over 3,000 cherry blossom trees as a symbol of friendship. The festival has since become a long-standing tradition honoring that connection. Though most of the trees are at the tail end of their bloom, it doesn't seem to be affecting the guests from enjoying their experience.
I feel like today is a very calm day. I feel like usually when it's peak bloom, there's everybody's here trying to get a picture, but you can grab your little spot, do what you need to do, take your pictures, go home, get the same quality. You can color grade at home. It'll be fine.
There's something happening every day of the festival, including the parade down Constitution Avenue. The festival runs through the end of the weekend, offering plenty of ways to experience spring in full bloom. Reporting from Washington, D.C. for InSight in the newsroom at VCU, I'm Madison Cox. Leave your umbrellas behind and get ready for warmer and clearer weather for the rest of the week.
Wednesday will be mostly sunny with a high of 62 and a low of 44. And Thursday will also be mostly sunny with a high of 65 and low of 40.
Thank you again for tuning in to our final spring semester newscast.
VCU InSight will return in September here on YouTube with fresh faces and new stories. Please remember to like and subscribe. Goodbye.